Most people think intelligence is about knowing more facts, more answers, more information. But that's not what the ancient Greeks believed. They believed intelligence reveals itself in how you think under pressure, in how you respond when things don't go your way, in how you carry yourself when no one agrees with you. Because anyone can seem smart when things are easy, but pressure reveals the truth. When you're challenged, when someone questions you, when something goes wrong, that's when your mind is exposed. And most people fail that moment, not because they lack intelligence, but because they've never been taught how to think. The ancient Greeks were, and once you understand how they thought, you start to see what everyone else misses. Habit 1. Don't fight to be right. You're in a conversation, and someone completely disagrees with you. You feel that urge instantly to interrupt, to correct, to prove your point. Most people react without thinking. They argue, they defend, they try to win, and within seconds, the conversation turns into a battle, not a search for truth, a battle for dominance. But this is where most people get it wrong, because the ancient Greeks didn't see arguments as battles. They saw them as opportunities to understand, to explore, to get closer to the truth. Instead of attacking, they asked questions, not to trap the other person, but to understand them. What led you to that conclusion? Why do you see it that way? Because when you ask, instead of attack, something shifts. People stop defending and start thinking. The tension fades, and for the first time, there's space for clarity. You don't need to prove someone wrong. You just need to help them see clearly, because intelligence isn't about winning arguments. It's about understanding them. Habit 2. See the bigger pattern. You fail once, and suddenly it feels like everything is falling apart. One mistake, and you start questioning yourself. One rejection, and it feels personal. Most people zoom in too much. They take one moment and turn it into a conclusion. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. This never works for me. But the ancient Greeks saw this differently. They didn't zoom in. They stepped back. They looked for something deeper, not just what happened, but what it meant. Because one moment means nothing on its own. It's just a signal, a piece of a larger pattern. And when you start seeing patterns, you stop reacting emotionally and start thinking clearly. When you see patterns, everything changes. You stop taking things personally. You stop overreacting to single moments. And instead, you start adjusting, learning, improving. Habit 3. Focus on what you control. Most people are constantly exhausted, not because of what's happening, but because of what they're thinking about, what others think of them, what might go wrong, what they can't predict, what they can't control, and it drains them completely. But the ancient Greeks had a rule, simple. If it's not in your control, it does not deserve your energy. You can't control the weather, but you can prepare for it. You can't control opinions, but you can control your actions. You can't control outcomes, but you can control your effort. And once you truly understand this, something changes. Your mind becomes lighter, clearer, more focused, because your energy is no longer wasted. It's directed. Habit 4. Use silence as power. There's a moment in every conversation where silence appears, and most people rush to fill it. They speak too soon. They interrupt. They say the first thing that comes to mind just to break the silence. But the ancient Greeks saw this differently. They didn't rush. They stayed quiet. They listened. And something interesting happens. When you don't rush to speak, people start paying attention, because silence creates weight. Because when you finally speak, your words carry more weight, not because you say more, but because you say it with intention. Habit 5. Pause before you react. Something goes wrong, and most people react instantly, emotionally, without thinking. Someone says something rude, and you snap back. Something doesn't go your way, and you escalate. Before you even realize it, you've lost control. But the ancient Greeks did something rare. They paused, even for a moment. And in that moment, everything changes. Because in that pause, you take back control. You create space between what happens and how you respond. Not the fastest reaction, not the loudest response, but the right one. Because the person who stays calm, while everyone else loses control, that person has power. Now, are you ready to face the Agora test? Imagine this. You're standing in a crowded space, voices everywhere, opinions, arguments, noise. In the middle of all this noise, there's someone who doesn't rush, doesn't react, doesn't try to be heard. Nikolaos. Now it's your turn. Don't rush, don't react, don't try to prove anything. Just observe, listen, stay in control. This is the test. Not what you say, not what you prove, but how you think when it matters most. If this moment felt familiar, if you recognized yourself in it, then you're already closer than most. Ancient wisdom isn't something you learn once, it's something you return to. Subscribe to Timeless Mind by Nikolaos. Join the journey. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to control everything around you. You just need to think differently. Ask instead of argue. Zoom out instead of panic. Focus on what you control. Use silence. Pause before you react. Most people won't do this, but if you do, everything changes.
The lesson is ancient. The choice is yours.